Welcome back to the Wyatt Claypool Show, everyone. Well, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau doesn't look too happy after he exited the Liberal Party caucus meeting yesterday, where a letter was given to him that supposedly 25 Liberal MPs have signed, asking for Trudeau to submit himself to some form of leadership review and even consider resigning as the Liberal Party leader and Prime Minister. This is Justin Trudeau walking out of that caucus meeting yesterday, not looking extremely happy, despite saying that everyone is strong and united.
And again, there's Justin Trudeau.
The Liberal Party is strong and united.
I think, and I'm going to play this again, I think that just the way he's walking, it's this very brisk, get me out of here kind of pace. And the way he says the Liberal Party is strong and united has a little bit of a I want to kill people sort of vibe to it. And knowing that I hear that basically half of the people in his party might want him to leave, yeah, he is not in a very good mood right now. But let's just take a look at that one more time, because I find it quite satisfying to see Justin Trudeau this uncomfortable with his position as leader.
Again, there's Justin Trudeau.
The Liberal Party is strong and united.
If things were truly going well, I feel like Justin Trudeau is the type of guy who would actually have stopped by and talked to reporters for a while. You know, we're strong and united, and we are focusing on delivering for Canadians $10 a day childcare, the carbon rebate, whatever. You'd mention a bunch of random garbage, but he would stop and talk for a bit. He wants to get out of there because he knows a follow-up question is grim death for him. He would probably fall apart if anyone asked him, so did they give you the letter saying that you should leave? And maybe we should pull up that letter right now and just read some excerpts from it, because I think it's at least decently interesting to see what these people are saying. I'll put it on screen for a little bit, but then I'll just take it down because it's basically just kind of slightly blurry text to you guys. But it says at the top, Code Red petition. And this was a petition that was signed around by 25 or so Liberal MPs. I don't believe that they put their names forward, which still proves that there's not many spines to go around inside the Liberal Party, that even in a closed-door caucus meeting, those who have big problems with Justin Trudeau still won't quite identify themselves. But they are saying, and this is in the letter, that Justin Trudeau has until October 28th to basically submit himself to some sort of leadership review panel where caucus gets to have an open forum with him. People get to bring forward complaints, or at least they get to bring forward complaints to a commission set up by the Liberal Party within the Liberal Party, who will then give an actual honest to goodness review of how Justin Trudeau has been doing to him directly, and then he has to commit to certain changes or step down as leader. Now, as a conservative myself, I want these people to lose. I think that all these people coming after Justin Trudeau now are just weasels who should have said something 9 years ago when he was already doing things that weren't good for the country, and they probably knew it, but they wanted to keep their seats. So all this reads as very pathetic to me. Regardless, still, in a certain technical sense, Justin Trudeau should be submitting himself to some sort of review. But I just want to read a couple lines out of this petition. It says, "We, the undersigned members and supporters of the Liberal Party of Canada, are deeply concerned about the state of our party and what we sincerely believe to be an urgent need to address the current threat to its very survival. Those threats include growing hostility to our leader, coupled with the failure of our current policy platform to attract and inspire support from Canadians." That is actually such an important line. They know inside it's not just that Poilievre is propagandizing against us, and that's why people don't like us. It's because Poilievre's tricking Canadians into not liking our policy agenda. No, in this letter, these MPs, these probably mostly backbench MPs, are acknowledging that it's not that Canadians just don't get it or that Poilievre's lying about us. He's smearing us. We're actually doing a great job. People are more prosperous than ever, but they're believing Poilievre's lies. No, they acknowledge that it's the policies themselves which people don't like. It's the results that people don't like. But I'll read down further. That was just the introduction. Now I'm going to read our request part. In light of recent events, and in particular the defeat of the Liberal Party of Canada in the federal by-election of Toronto, St. Paul, and La Salle-Mard riding, and in the furtherance of the accountability owed by the Liberal Party National Executive to the Liberal Party members and supporters generally, and by the National Caucus to everyone from across Canada who has supported us at the polls, we hereby formally request that National Executive and the National Caucus each meet forthwith and separately to consider and address the following urgent matters as applicable or whatever to the party. And then they're basically asking for a meeting to give over their grievances, for Trudeau to submit himself to an actual anonymous vote of the caucus on whether or not they want him to stay anonymous so that he can't specifically target individuals who vote against him afterwards, and that Trudeau consider resigning or allow himself to be subject to a membership or a leadership review of the members. Now, do I think Justin Trudeau is going to go through that? No, I think he is basically just going to play a game of chicken with these people and see if they're serious enough to actually come out against him, because the ball's in their court. Trudeau has come out and said everything is strong and unified. And now it's these Liberal MPs' jobs to come out and say, no, we are not strong and unified. Here is what we want, and here is all the MPs who are willing to basically leave caucus or call publicly for his resignation if he doesn't do what we want. Because the problem with everything Trudeau's doing now, or the problem with what the Liberal MPs want, is that it requires Trudeau to do something. They then need to back this up with a threat. But now I want to just quickly go through some of the reactions we've seen from Liberal MPs leaving this caucus meeting, because a lot of them were also caught by the media and asked their opinions on what's going on. So we have this Liberal MP, I forget who a lot of these people are. It's not Randy Boissonneau, it's somebody else, but asking them, this minister, about what the real condition is inside of the Liberal caucus.
What does that mean about where things are with his future? Is he staying on as leader? Is that decided, or is that still an open question?
Well, he has already made clear his views on that. I think he will be even more clear as he speaks to you. But what is even more clear coming out of the caucus is we had also the opportunity of speaking about the good news of the interest rates falling. And
yes, we were talking about the good news. Oh, yes, all that good news that's going on. Nobody actually has emergency caucus meetings, or even in the regular scheduled caucus meetings, do people just talk about the good news. People talk about generally what's working. They'll mention some of that, but they'll mostly talk about problems, because you don't need to solve good news stuff. Those are just good things that are happening. You talk about things that you have to fix. And obviously, the thing that has to be fixed inside the Liberal Party is the terrible policy and the terrible leadership. Although I would also add in the fact that they all need spine transplants, but I doubt they would ever talk about that, although they should. Here's another one that we have of, or at least, yeah, why not? Let's go to Nate Erickson Smith next, who I know some people say he's like one of the honest liberals, and he's very forthwith with his opinion. I consider the guy to be a complete weasel who only ever says things clearly when it seeks to benefit him. And although that describes a lot of politicians, I see him as doing it in this fake, I'm trying to be honest and reach out to the public and speak truth to power kind of a way, when in times like this, even now, he's super vague about in his language. He's not even running for re-election again, and he won't put his money where his money where his mouth is, and just say if he actually thinks Trudeau should stay or not. But here's Nate Erickson Smith.
Reflect on what he's heard from colleagues, and I think he's got to find some way to earn the trust of the colleagues who are expressing this frustration, and people are coming at it from different reasons for expressing that frustration. The second thing is to my colleagues, as the Prime Minister works to deliver a response to what he heard today, I think it's really important that you got to stand down the palace intrigue, and we can't have the knives in. We got to face the knives out, and we got to fight the real fight against Pierre Poilievre. And I don't know how interesting that is for you guys, but that's what I said.
Do you think the colleagues will do that? Do you think they'll stand down?
If there's a constructive effort to really respond to what was said in there, I hope so.
Do you think there's like a timeline that the Prime Minister needs to kind of get these things done, or at least some of them underway to show to those colleagues?
Yesterday. I mean, especially on the campaign side, right? So, in fairness, the national.
See, he'll say something a little bit honest, and then he immediately pulls back. when should these changes have been made? Well, yesterday. Oh, well, but to be fair, and then he starts trying to like justify himself again. He's so slimy, I find. There's some conservatives who respect Nate Erickson-Smith. I just don't. I think this guy's just out for himself in a very sweaty and desperate way. Like, just look at that committee meeting where he started swearing at people because they said, well, I thought Nate would have had more integrity to do this or that, and it was on some sort of thing he wasn't answering questions for. And he starts like swearing and having a meltdown. I think that the guy is made of pure ego, like so many politicians I know.
The national director is ready to present a 5-point plan. He couldn't do that today because other events overran that, but he's ready to present a plan. I think that's part of it. And then I think there's got to be a real reflection on, what he heard not only from me, but from other colleagues to say, how do I re-earn some of that trust? And how do I make sure that people are listening again?
They're talking to, like, this is like the Conservative Party. And what I mean by that is they're acting like there's some sort of like grassroots democracy going on inside the Liberal Party or the Liberal Party caucus. There isn't. The bargain that the Liberal Party made when they had Trudeau come on as the leader in 2013 is that we're going to sit back and do nothing. And Trudeau and a few advisors are going to push us to victory on the back of his name, even though he's a complete dullard and doesn't know anything about policy. But, well, at least Gerald Butts or now Katie Telford, they can make it work. You can't now say, where's the accountability? You guys wanted no accountability. You wanted the leader who's just going to get it done for you, and you basically just read your scripts whenever you're told to, and you're promised to be reelected from here to the end of time. It didn't work out because it was never going to work out, and you were stupid to think it was going to in the first place. The policy's bad. And him pretending like, well, Trudeau's going to release a 5-point plan to caucus. We couldn't talk about that today. If that 5-point plan, which I don't know was on like new policies they're going to release or other sorts of things they're going to do, if that would have changed anything, it would have been presented at that caucus meeting. You don't sit there listening to grievances or hearing that there's grievances abound, having given the petition and saying that there's 25 or more MPs who have signed on to this. And then you're like, well, I'm not going to mention the thing that might quell your dissatisfaction. Trudeau didn't mention it because it didn't matter at all. It has nothing to do with people liking him or not, whether or not he has a new 5-point plan. He's had a lot of new plans in the past, and none of them have resulted in a hill of beans. Marie-Claude Bibeau here, another Liberal MP leaving the caucus meeting. I thought this was, again, another telling post-caucus meeting little scrum interview demonstrating the nervousness and erratic energy inside the party right now, who has not dealt with a lot of disgruntled MPs in quite a while.
How do you move past this? How do you move past this? How do you quell the dissent? How does the Prime Minister get past this?
The wheels are turning. She's trying to figure out how to not get herself in trouble.
I mean, you are amplifying something that is very not to the what you...
This is very not to the what you trying to say. I can't believe you guys are reporting on interesting political intrigue. Why are you guys reporting on this? This is your fault. Oh my goodness. What kind of, like, she when she was thinking there for a second, she rolled her dice to see if she could come up with a good excuse for this, and she rolled double snake eyes here.
I think you wish it would be.
You have MPs. You have MPs in your caucus.
I haven't seen anything from any MPs signed by any MPs.
You think they're bluffing?
I haven't seen anything signed by any MPs, and any MPs came to me with something like that. None.
Are you saying
She's turned into Schultz from Hogan's Heroes here. I've seen nothing. I've heard nothing. I don't know anything. I don't know my own name. Answers like this just make people want to ask more questions because there's just crazy meltdowns happening caucus with somebody with no clue what to say walking out because these people are stunned. Here's Mary New coming out of the meeting holding a latte, probably a matcha latte. I don't know. There's just a slight greenness to the cup here.
For Canadians, and Canadians expect us to do this work. So we're going to have a good, robust conversation at caucus like we do every week.
By the way, if you're this guy and you got like a beard, 5 o'clock shadow, stop wearing the very smooth leather backpack. That's a backpack for a 22-year-old girl going to university. If I can say something slightly, you know, off topic here, but it bothers me. The idea of like, oh, we're in there working hard for Canadians, and oh, if something is afoot, it will be brought up. Oh my goodness, these people don't have any risk. Again, the Conservative Party, because there is more open dialogue in it, and there's problems. I know there's problems. I literally ran for a federal Conservative nomination in Calgary, Signal Hill, and I was kicked out of it for no reason other than somebody in the party was trying to get their friend or ally through as the candidate. I made sure that person still lost because no, you don't get to just be an MP in a riding you don't live in when you have a crap record and you didn't work that hard for it. But regardless, I know there's problems inside of the Conservative Party, but the Conservative Party actually has some open dialogue. They have grassroots democracy inside the party. There is reviews of leadership. There's never been that inside the Liberal Party. And now they're struggling to find the words or actions required to actually muscle their way through a real impasse inside of caucus, even if it's not the majority. Do you think that Trudeau can afford to suffer any more wounds here? Do you think that Trudeau can really take one on the chin from his own party and that he's going to somehow win the 2025 election? Not a chance. This guy doesn't have anything left in his policy like repertoire. He can't renounce anything that will make people think, wow, you know, I really underestimated Justin Trudeau. Every single new plan he releases is just more spending. Honestly, he actually did do something yesterday, or at least it's rumored to be happening today or sometime this week, that they're going to be reducing immigration target numbers. They're going to be reducing the amount of people that are being allowed into the country. Good. Way too late. I'm not going to forgive him because he's not asking for forgiveness. Still way too late. But if he did more of that, maybe people would like him. At the same time, I still think he could do literally only good things from here on out, reverse all of his bad policies, and people would still want him out just as punishment for all the damage he's already done up to this point. You know, you don't really get to suck at your job for 9 straight years, and then in your 4th attempt at being at election, people are like, give the boy another chance. Come on, he's got another election in him. At some point, you got to move on. But now I got to talk about the Trudeau cheerleaders here. I love how much people hate anyone who stands up to Justin Trudeau. It doesn't matter if it's a conservative or a liberal. If you're standing up to Justin Trudeau, you're the enemy. There's something wrong with you. And so the person who was the speculated Liberal MP who was putting out the petition for people to anonymously sign was Patrick Wheeler here, and you have this person, Brooke here, with all the flags in her bio saying, traitor to Canada, the a-hole and MP who wrote this letter, Patrick Wheeler, and then has his email there, like, I guess everyone's supposed to go and contact his office and say that they're deeply disappointed in him for actually wanting to have some accountability in the party. And that's the thing. The people who still like Trudeau, like are really big Trudeau people, are they're just cultists at this point. They are cheerleading cultists. They don't actually care about Trudeau doing good things or bad things. They simply want to keep hearing Justin Trudeau play the greatest hits. There are people who didn't realize the band was bad 8 years ago, but they're still saying, well, they had that good album. But Trudeau never had one. It's just been bad the entire time. Here's one, a post from our favorite TikToker, but not TikToker, TikTok video this time, Creek Pete, saying, oh, F off already. The horse is not only dead, it's dust. You guys are planning on doing any actual journalism anymore? There's more important stories that you're ignoring. Why? And he's responding to this article written by Tanya McCharles here. And the header to her post says, Trudeau told MPs he will stay on, but questions remain over Prime Minister's leadership after meaningful, direct, and blunt meeting with Liberal caucus. Our latest here. This article is from the Toronto Star. And Creek Pete is saying, are you guys going to do any actual journalism? Pretending like they're like conservative media. The Toronto Star is the most left-wing mainstream news source you can find, excluding places like antihate.ca and Press Progress, which are literal far left, just rags. They're not even really news publications. They're more so campaign tools for the NDP and the Liberals to go after conservatives with. but the Toronto Star is as liberal as you could possibly get. And people like Creek Pete and all these other people I see online are still complaining, because unless you are just subservient to Justin Trudeau, and they'll never call you out for being too what would I like, what word should I be using here? I guess like too praising, too, like, bending over backward too much for Trudeau. They'll never call you out for being a hack for Trudeau, because that's their goal. So many liberals, and I'm not talking about people who vote liberal. Most people who vote liberal just look at it and say, well, I guess I feel liberal in terms of my policy stances or the vibes that I vote on. But like, I'm talking about like people who are big liberal cheerleaders, truly just want their toys in the sandbox. They believe in power, and they want the people they like to have power, even though those people in power are making their lives worse through higher taxes and a worse economy and, weaker civil liberties, whatnot. I want to see if I can find some of these other ones. Like the stuff that these people are posting is just truly unhinged. What else do we got here? Whatever. I'm not going to go into it too much. Doesn't really matter to me. But what do I think is going to happen with Justin Trudeau here? Well, apparently we are going to have that deadline on October 28th, where the Liberal caucus, I guess, is going to do something to Trudeau if he doesn't respond to their list of demands. Let's say he doesn't. I think that you're going to have some MPs start to come out and say that Trudeau needs to resign and he's acting like a child and won't actually submit to any correction at all from the people he's supposed to be accountable to. I think that will happen. Trudeau will maybe kick someone out of caucus. He'll try and weather through it. But there is a scenario here where he is forced into some sort of a leadership review scenario, or resigns and says, my caucus doesn't believe in me anymore. Screw them. I'm leaving. And there are already people lining up to try and take the leadership of the party if Justin Trudeau steps down. We have Christy Clark, the former BC Liberal Premier, who is starting up a website which sounds very much like she's trying to run for leadership. It doesn't say it, but it's saying, I want to help the Liberal Party beat Pierre Poilievre in the next election. I want to be as disposed to the Liberal Party as possible so I can give them the maximum amount of help. She obviously wants to be a leader. She would never win a leadership, in my opinion, because Christy Clark has no political instincts or skills. But I think that her coming out and saying it without actually saying it, that she wants to be the leader, does start to put some momentum behind the move to oust Trudeau, because people who are MPs wanting to get rid of Trudeau can at least say there's interest in replacing him. There are certain people who would run. I think Christy Clark would run. I think that maybe Freeland would run. Mark Carney would probably run. And then you get a smattering of other people in caucus who would maybe try and take a swing at it. Other MPs, especially from Quebec, would probably go for it. Joel Lightbound might, because he was one of the original people back during the convoy, saying that Trudeau had lost a lot of trust from Canadians and he needs to be more accountable to people when they have issues with the way the government behaves. Probably other MPs out west who might say that the big problem with the Liberal Party is it's alienated Westerners so much that it now is so reliant on Toronto and Montreal that the party is now not functionally able to win more than a minority government. But let's say, here's the other scenario. If nobody says anything after this, if Justin Trudeau and they don't pull the trigger on October 28th to embarrass Trudeau or shame him into making some sort of changes, I think that Trudeau's polling numbers are actually still going to fall farther, though. I think he's going to get into a position where the NDP will start to outpace him. So, best scenario for Trudeau is nobody says anything after this. Nobody comes out and says he needs to resign after this. And a bunch of people then come out and say, actually, Trudeau has satisfied us with some of the stuff he's released. Maybe he can stabilize his position a little bit, gain a little bit back in the polls. I doubt it. I think he's either going to have to step down or he's going to be so injured by this in the next election that there is a very real chance the Liberal Party doesn't just come third place in seats, it comes fourth place behind the NDP and the Bloc Québécois. Because as pathetic as the NDP is under the leadership, or lack thereof, of Jagmeet Singh, they still at least have concentrated support around the country where it's difficult for them to lose seats. They can't gain seats either, but if they get 30 seats, 35 seats, that could be more than the Liberals, because the Liberals have proven that they can lose Toronto seats. They can lose Montreal seats. where else do they have strongholds? Not the Maritimes. Maritimes might go fully blue. Not British Columbia. Definitely not Alberta, Saskatchewan, or Manitoba. So where? Where do they actually have muscle? They don't have it anywhere. And that's the big problem for the Liberals, is that they have no options. They have no path to victory in this next election. The Bloc are going to eat their lunch in Quebec, maybe even Montreal. They lose some seats to both the Bloc, the Conservatives, and the NDP. And Toronto, there's a good chance they don't win any seats, but maybe 1 or 2 in that city. So again, I want them to lose as a Conservative, but like from an outsider perspective of observing a party doing this badly and at least wanting them to not be this incompetent, because I want the Conservatives to win, but I also want them to have a competent opposition to fight against, which is also why I like that the Liberals are finally be getting a little bit tougher on immigration, because it's a step towards normalcy. The problem is they're so far left on everything else, they still won't actually act as a good check on the Conservatives. Again, I think Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are going to do a lot of great stuff in government. I just want a competent opposition so that if the Conservatives start breaking promises, there is a party that can take over that threatens the Conservatives enough that they will have to actually do what they said they will and actually, stick to it. Because the problem with Doug Ford in Ontario, and this is why if I was in Ontario, I'd support the New Blue Party of Ontario. Doug Ford has such pathetic opposition from the NDP and the Liberals, and I don't like those two parties at all, that he governs like a Liberal, because I guess it's more fun because you get to spend more money. So he's not fiscally conservative at all. He backs subsidy programs all over the place. He's really betrayed parents on all the changes he was going to supposedly make to the curriculum. He's not done anything for parental rights. He has not done anything to get rid of ESG, DEI, and other sort of environmental nonsense from the government. He's just kept it all. His budget's bigger than ever. And I don't want the federal Conservatives to be like that. I think they'll be better than Doug Ford, even regardless of how weak or pathetic the NDP or Liberals are. But that is just a healthy thing to have in a democracy, an opposition who can actually potentially win. I want the Liberals to be competitive and more rational as a party, so we can have multiple parties that if they win, we don't have to be terrified of what they're going to do. The 90s Liberals. I'd love for the 90s Liberals to be back because they weren't insane. Anyways, so that should be it for me today, guys. If you like this show, again, make sure you subscribe to it. 75% of people who watch this channel are not actually subscribed. Make sure to like this video. Leave a comment if you want on what you want me to talk about next time or anything else you would like to mention. And if you really want to support the show, the best way you can do it is donating to our Give, Send, Go legal fundraiser. We have a Chinese billionaire suing us over literally nothing, defamation that he hasn't submitted the evidence to prove in almost 3 years now. And we're probably going to be able to win this case at some point, but it's cost me more than $33,000 to fight. So anything you can contribute to that Give, Send, Go link that's in the description as well as pinned at the top of the comments really helps me out. Anyways, this has been me talking about Justin Trudeau's leadership woes and the caucus revolt going on. I'll talk to you guys next time. I'll probably bring out some more details. I didn't want to go through all the nitty-gritty of which MP said what specific vague things. I think the videos I showed you today pretty much set the tone. Nobody wants to acknowledge the issues, but they're there and you can tell.